it is my pleasure to introduce all of you to this next panel, which is one that is the opportunities for startups and healthcare perspectives from venture capital and capitalists. It's going to be headed by Ms. Seema Kumar, who is the CEO of Cure, which is hosting our reception for us later. She has been a wonderful partner and a wonderful participant and supporter. So with that, Ms. Kumar, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ransel, and good morning, everybody. I hope everybody has had a chance to get another cup of coffee because stay tuned. We're going to have a very exciting conversation ahead of us. As Ransel mentioned, I'm Seema Kumar. I'm the CEO of Cure. Cure is an innovation campus, a healthcare innovation campus right here in New York City. You will see our campus later on this evening at the reception. And we support entrepreneurs, startups. We bring them together with investors and researchers and academia and industry together to really stimulate innovation and help startups. So I think we all know that healthcare is one of the most complex, but also one of the most exciting fields. There's so much opportunity, but so many challenges and so much complexity. And so it's not just about science and technology. You know, you could have the biggest breakthrough in your hands, but without capital, without the strategic partnerships, you can go nowhere. And so today we're going to dive into this conversation. We have with us a really outstanding panel, and we're going to just get into it in a minute. Let me introduce them really briefly. From left to right, to my immediate left is Catherine Anderson. She is Head of Healthcare and Life Sciences at HSBC. Next up is Kimberly Nearing. She's Venture Partner. She's at BVCF Management. After that, we have Ms. Zulma Guillot. She's the founder and chairwoman of Plasmatrix Biotech. And Mr. Robert Krametz, who is the executive director of Intelli University. So we're going to get right into it. And we're going to start with a key overarching question. So at Cure, we issued a healthcare innovation report in which we found like there were 3 trends actually that were driving investors' interests in funding. One has to do with AI and data sciences and data-driven diagnostics. The other, believe it or not, is women's health, because women's health is making a big comeback and it's having a big moment. And finally, it's global health equity. And so I wanted to ask the panelists to kick us off by saying, so what do you think of those trends? Do you think that those trends make sense? Are you seeing that sort of investment pattern as well? Or do you have other insights? Catherine, we'll go from left to right, and then I'll point directed questions at you all.
And feel free to poke holes or disagree. I love that. No, not surprising at all. And I love the report that you put together. And we also have a semi-annual venture healthcare report too. So I took a couple trends down that I thought might be interesting. AI data-driven diagnostics seeing just sustained deal flow. So think comp bio, DX. Median deal sizes continue to rise. We saw about 29 million of median deal size in the first half of 2025. That compares to 7 million in 2023. Women's health, also notable momentum. I'm sure we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail. We saw a number of IVF and fertility-related tools.
And menopause.
Yes, very top of mind for me, quite frankly. But yes, we noted a couple interesting financings in our mid-year report as well for women's health. So definitely attracting some meaningful, though not yet many or mega scale financings that will come with time, but definitely on investors' radar. And then I would say healthcare equity, certainly an increasing filter. I think on deal quality, investors are asking how platforms reach underserved populations, not just top-tier centers. So the way I think about it, AI shaping capital allocation most directly, but biggest winners are going to combine those data-driven insights to equity and access. That's kind of what we're seeing.
So what about you, Kimberly? Do you agree?
Well, listen, I'm gonna hone in on AI because I think we're having a very special moment with AI and Gen AI in healthcare. AI has actually been the catalyst for a massive influx of capital, both public and private, into the healthcare industry, as we know. And it's not just the healthcare investors, right, that are interested in what's going to happen. It's generalist investors. Kathy Wood of ARK Invest, a large investment fund, said that healthcare is the most sort of interesting potential application for AI. And then obviously we know that the tech titans are all on board, right? And in fact, the CEO of Microsoft said that AI is the most transformative technology of our time, and healthcare is its most pressing application. So we always think about, or what we hear is that the catalyst for AI in healthcare is the explosion of data, the capabilities of the models, and compute power. But it seems to me that it's also optimism in the idea that these modern computational tools and technologies may be able to help us solve some of the most pressing problems in healthcare.
Great. What about you? Oh, do you have a microphone? It should be behind you.
Well, many of you know me. My name is Sue Maguillor, most well known as Sue. If I start talking about women's health and diagnostics, that would take 2 days here. But summarizing, I'm specialized in estradiol, that is for women's health. It's our key analyte, the one that and the key granulosa cell that really drives our entire body as females, of course, supported by other steroid hormones, but from the woman's perspective and health equity, that is the core of my entire development. And I have put my soul and life in this development, aiming for health equity. Evidently, I'm not from America, and I have been strongly supported by very large organizations on the national level, which I'm very grateful for. Right now, I'm at the pre-manufacturing stage on the development of a multiplex, ultra-sensitive, complying with gold standards diagnostics, which my end goal is to, of course, America is our first immediate client, but my core goal, desire, and what I foresee is to be able to put this device in every corner of the world, starting by Tel Aviv, that I already have initial conversations with the CEO of Shiva Hospital, following to all over the place. As a good person in science, my goal is to bring my science into every single community, disregarding disregarding where we come from. That's my goal.
That's great. That's really wonderful to hear. What about you, Robert?
I don't even know where to begin with those. It's so broad, but
Yeah.
let me just say that.
I mean, one of the three. Anything that you're excited about?
Say the question again.
Yeah, the AI or
AI,
women's
yeah.
health or data.
Well,
Anything
okay.
that you're excited about?
First of all, IntelliVersity is a nonprofit. We're engaged in, I guess, what you'd call international healthcare equity and bringing healthcare to areas that are not currently served, and particularly in the area of screening. For example, we have an initiative on the West Bank, or Judea, Samaria, where we're trying to bring Arab and Jewish populations together around healthcare, specifically around breast cancer screening. So although it's not a women's healthcare initiative, it turns out to be mostly women are involved. But I'm here representing Shepherd Ventures, which is a venture capital fund, which is heavily involved in both AI and in women's health. And it just so happens two of the companies that we're backing, one is primarily an AI-based diagnostic company, that's Heart.io, their leadership is right there. And the other one is Amplify DX, which is primarily involved in infectious disease that affects women. And their CEO or head of commercial operations is somewhere here, Chris, but they both have booths back in the library. So yes, we're very active in AI, in women's health, and in international medical diplomacy.
That's great.
Does that answer your question?
That does. Well, you're playing right into what we sort of saw, from our survey and report as big trends that we're looking at in investment. AI clearly, ways ahead in data, but also women's health and the equity. Not just focusing on the richest of the rich populations, but also ensuring that treatments get to all, patients globally. But beyond trends, when, as a founder, as an investor, as a financer, what do you look for in a company? Aside from, the actual therapeutic area, are you looking for the team? Are you looking for the technology? Is it traction? What makes you stand up and take notice when you look at a startup that you want to invest in?
Can I go back for just a second, Seema, if
Yes.
you don't mind? So I'm thinking about what Kim had mentioned in terms of what of those three areas are most interesting and potentially most impactful. And I'm completely aligned with you that it's AI, especially I think in this macro environment that we're living in, and I think the foreseeable future, because there are so many other investors, tech and otherwise, that actually have a really good understanding of that. And otherwise, life science and healthcare can be scary and daunting, and people are risk averse. So I think that AI, if I were going to put, all of my cards into one area, I would cast my vote the same way, because I think that is going to help provide substantial lift and create some followership and just general understanding for these other areas that are so critical: women's health, equity in general. So I'd be remiss if I didn't kind of call that out.
Absolutely. No, I mean, there's no question. AI is changing the way we do things, everything from, the morning to the evening, but also in the arena of healthcare. But as you can imagine, there are so many startups coming up in AI. And so what are the differentiating things? And it comes back to the question that I was leading up to. Is it the team? Is it the technology? Is it the traction? How do you decide what's the best?
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, right? Exceptional teams going after big problems with differentiated technology, some proven validation from the market, and a clear path to value creation.
Yep.
Pretty simple, right? Not simple to do, but simple. Sort of what we see, and I'll just hone in on one of those points, where companies struggle, and that is having a clear point of differentiation, right? And positioning themselves around it. So everyone's excited about what they're developing, right? But what investors want to see, and potential strategic partners, is how is what you're doing fit within the market that you're going after, and why are you different, better, and why does it matter? And that's it's critical, right? That's kind of fundamental to show up with a chart of your competitive landscape when you're going after investors and partners.
Well, as a startup representative here, I think that this is my point to share. It is clear that every startup or every new business needs to have a clear point on how to differentiate on the market. But we are in a scientific field. Therefore, scientific has to be strongly based on specificity in the core markets and the core analytics that show that our product is not only pretty, that the ease of use, the core analytic competitive against, for example, my development is specialized in diagnostics, how the competitiveness of my diagnostic system enables a person in Africa, in Madagascar today, that doesn't have access to large advanced diagnostic centers, to have the same results that one of us goes to Mayo Clinic to have. That is my goal, to ensure that any human being have the exact same access to ultra-sensitive results. All this, so data first, and then from my perspective, is the next step is the application of AI, because I see AI as a facilitator of the extraction of large data and enabling us to see it easier and faster. But without the core data, nothing counts.
So Zoma, tell us, maybe for the audience's sake, one or two sentences about your technology. I mean, what is it diagnosing so that somebody at the Mayo Clinic can get the same result as somebody in a rural part of Africa?
My first multiplex cartridge meaning that from one small amount of blood, my device is fully automated, doesn't need advanced, doesn't need well-trained staff. So we provide gold standard lab results at the point of care within minutes, with minimal user interference.
And is it a full panel? What does it test for?
Each panel, is a very advanced reader that, and where we design a cartridge for each medical specialty. Our first one was women's health. After a tragic incident that happened to me, I tried to self-diagnose, and it turned out that is true. I don't have a fancier story. And then it turned out that many people needed it, so that's really it.
Great, excellent. Okay, Rob.
Well, to answer your question,
yeah.
Kumar,
Yeah.
Shepherd Ventures is a founder-first venture capital fund. And by that I mean, is that?
No. Please go ahead.
Okay.
I was pointing to Zulma to say there should be a microphone behind you on your seat.
Well, that's what's going on.
Okay, all right, great, excellent.
So we look at the team, the founding team first and primarily. And the reason is, and I don't mean the resumes or the pedigree, I'm talking about the team's ability to pivot successfully, which is always required before exit.
Excellent.
And two, is that team going to survive to exit together? Because if they don't, then all the other assessments are meaningless. So we look first at the team's dynamics. And if that's not acceptable, we don't even bother with the science.
Wow.
Now, for example, the two teams that we have here, we believe without doubt that they're going to make it together to exit, meaning we don't have to replace the key people. And secondly, they have cognitive diversity on the team. By that I mean the team consists of a number of individuals who think differently than each other. Typically, that often means different backgrounds, male, female, different backgrounds, but we're looking for the ability to think and debate respectfully with each other.
So you think that the team can beat Trump traction, Trump technology, and,
Every time. However, I hate
it's
to use
both.
the word Trump in this context, but
Yeah,
yes,
well,
yes.
poor choice of words, but still.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It is
Florida
both, though.
yeah.
Right? I mean,
Okay,
you
go ahead.
need, it's
Yes.
just as I think about, you get the question all the time, what's more important, culture or strategy in an organization?
Yeah,
Both.
culture eats strategy for
both-
breakfast.
they're both
Right,
important.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yes,
But as I
exactly.
think about team, I totally agree with you. If you don't have that, forget about it, especially in this kind of market environment, because what I'm looking for is quality and experience, right? Have you exhibited as a team, as a management team, the ability to deploy capital wisely? Do you have experience in building partnerships, which I think we're probably going to unpack in a little bit more detail, but in a world of relentless prioritization, those things really matter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Seema,
go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to
Go ahead.
put a
Yeah.
fine point, the investors have to like you too, right? So if they're going to go on the company building journey with you, you better come in and be telling the truth and sharing, facts with sources and all of that kind of thing, because in the end, they're making a decision, with their minds and their hearts.
Anything else you want to add? Team is the king.
Team is everything that has, in every company, every other day is a different struggle. So team is everything. The level of intellect is equally important, have an equal importance to the level of cohesion. Cohesion is everything, because without cohesion, none of these hiccups that come so frequently wouldn't succeed. I agree.
Can I add one more point to that? If we look for a balance of cohesion and differences.
Yes.
Cohesive around values, differences around details.
Absolutely.
That's the magic. There's a
Yeah.
magic to that.
Yeah. So, Kimberly, let me start with you on this particular question, which is like we're seeing funding flows sort of change a little bit. We're seeing a lot more in digital, a lot more in sort of technologies and diagnostics, like data-driven diagnostics. Yet, the biggest share of the pie is with therapeutics, right? Because it's high margin, high risk, high reward. Are you seeing those shifts? Do you see that changing anytime soon? Especially with the, with AI becoming so important.
Okay, so I'll just, again, focus a little bit on the AI portion of that, and that is that, certainly investors, are having a moment with companies who are coming that are, tech healthcare companies. But truthfully, either you're a native tech company or you're not, right? So, if you're a tech company, you better come and, prove that you're sort of AI-driven and, have, performance to back it up. But most companies are not tech native, right? I mean, in my field, biotech, a biotech company is, science first. That said, those companies need to become tech-enabled. And increasingly, investors will want to know how even non-native tech companies are using modern computational tools and techniques to scale their businesses. The best ones are able to show that they're solving problems more quickly, making decisions with more conviction, and that they're gaining competitive moats. So you just need to figure out what you're building and sort of stay within that lane. But in the end, you do need to be talking about how you're using AI and Gen AI.
Let's take one more question on the other side of the spectrum, and then we'll get into partnerships, once you get the funding. So we talked about team. Let's talk a little bit about high-risk, high-reward science. How do you view that? If the science is breakthrough, if it's just extraordinary, how do you view that? But it's a very risky sort of a science. How do you look at an investment when that comes across your table? Maybe, Catherine, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I think, if, as you're thinking about that, AI specifically is not going to be a differentiator on its own, though that is a key topic of our conversation and has been throughout the day. But the edge is going to come from the proprietary data, which we also talked about earlier, and smart application and the ability to actually integrate that into healthcare workflow. So bringing that all together, and which all gets back to, I think, team, experience, history, the ability to work together and pivot where it's needed.
Any other perspectives on that? How do you fund something that is very high risk, high reward? Do you stay away from it, steer away from it, or
Stay away from what, Kimberly?
high risk, high reward breakthrough science?
Can I answer that?
Yep.
So we stay away from it, frankly.
Yep.
Our fund seeks an 80% success rate, which is very high for venture capital. In other words, 80% of the companies we fund will exit profitably. So we can't do high-risk science. We enter at the point of commercialization. And that's why we focus on the people that are running the company, because they will execute competently. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, I think that I'm here to represent high risk, high reward. In the beginning of this development, I approached my colleague who is also part of my project, the head physicist in Harvard, followed by the #2 best biochemist specialized in steroid hormones in the world, that is my partner, located in Finland, also developer within HiTest. The biggest names I'm proud to mention that are the ones part of my project, and is that once I was chatting with the head of innovation from Yale University, he stated, "Sue, don't do this. If Abbott, Roche, all the biggest corporations have not been able to bring ultra-sensitive estradiol to the point of care, please, let's do something different." I'm all women's health. I'm moving forward with this. I got this. I believe in myself. My patent has been assigned under 3 different accounts, one for innovation, one for novelty, and I forgot the third one. My apologies. I know that I'm proudly to share that we have a portfolio of patents today, because when we're in science, we believe what we do, and science is transparent, science doesn't lie, and when you have it, you have it. That's it. I got it.
That's great. Well, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Seema, I would also say, it's all about kind of risk mitigation, right? And I think we've seen still some very big rounds in this first half.
Yes.
But a lot of large syndicates, right? And so you think about how can you potentially spread the wealth? Look to spread the wealth. Look to maybe partnerships earlier to help with those points of validation as early as possible. That would be some additional suggestions.
Yep. Go ahead, Kimberly.
No, I think that's an excellent point. And I think and I'm sorry, I'm talking in the biopharma space. But when you're if a company is looking to raise money, particularly these days, they need to run parallel campaigns, a BD campaign and a fundraising campaign. Yep. And you need to cast your net very broadly, including internationally, and just assume things are going to take longer than they might otherwise. But partnerships are, super important. I think we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk about partnerships in a second, and I just put a finer point on what you're all saying is that you do need to have some parallel tracks. You need to be looking at investment strategies that are, diverse, because one of the biggest sort of funders, at least here in the United States, which is NIH, has, there's so much cutbacks going on. And so to really think about how do you diversify, and there are many people who don't know where to go and how to raise money from investors, right? But we're here at the C3 conference, the Davos of healthcare, where we have, diverse countries represented, and we want to talk a little bit about cross borders. And so can we address this notion of cross-border capital partnerships? How does that work? Is this a defining moment, or is this a moment of panic? How do you view this?
Opportunity, Seema.
Opportunity, okay. Not panic, okay.
Change provides opportunity. I mean, you have to always be thinking about, to Kim's point, what are the options? You can't just assume you can go down one path, and you always have to have a backup plan and a backup to the backup. So I actually think this is a defining moment. Healthcare is a need regardless of where you live across the globe, and partnerships actually provide, I think, an opportunity not just for those early points of validation, but risk mitigation in and of itself. I don't know if there's any other.
Yeah. So in biopharma, cross-border, sort of partnerships are not unusual. They're certainly accelerated because of the rise of biotech in China. Yep. And anyone who doesn't know that story, who's interested in sort of building, should take a look, because what they've accomplished over the course of a decade's absolutely phenomenal. They've gone from a follower to a leader. When they started in biotech, certainly they got all the infrastructure and the ecosystems and the regulations correct. But what they also did is they brought back ethnically Chinese people, hundreds of thousands from the West, to build companies in China. So it's actually, I'm going to say a lot. Many of the companies in China are actually run by or built by US citizens. And so, they have a playbook, which is really terrific, but they originally started in licensing China rights from Western biotech companies to build their companies, and now large pharma is aggressively pursuing them for innovation. And so it's a great story.
Yeah, it is, and it also showcases that you can build a whole new biotech ecosystem, because people often look at Boston or Silicon Valley and say, how do you create that magic? And it's possible to create that magic, is what, you're underscoring.
Can I jump in with an answer to that?
Yep.
Because your last two questions were closely linked. So cross-border, the U.S. system has been heavily biased towards therapeutics in the investment side, because that's where the payments are, right?
Yep.
But cross borders, there's a greater emphasis on diagnostics. I'm not saying it's 100%. On screening, diagnostics, precision medicine, decision support tools that actually reduce the cost of therapy. It's like, do you invest in the bullet or the aiming of the bullet, right? If you can aim the bullet more accurately, the bullet doesn't have to be that good. Many analogies similar to that. So we see that cross-border there's a great, outside of the U.S., more demand for diagnostics and decision support tools. And that's where we're putting most of our investments.
So, what advice would you all give to GCC investors then on how to build partnerships that is cross-border and to ultimately get to this point of where health is universal, right? Everybody wants therapeutics, everybody wants diagnostics. What kind of partnerships can you foresee and envision that would make this a win for all?
Partner with U.S. funds.
Yeah.
Co-lead rounds, build credibility. I mean, that would be.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm in a position to be giving investors in the GCC advice, but I would say one thing about anyone in the region who's trying to build linkages globally, and that is be really clear what your mandate is, right? And what I mean by that is, what are you looking for? Who are the appropriate partners? Because what I find happens, and I worked in the GCC region cross-border for about 10 years, is that there's no shortage of interest, okay? I mean, even in early 2000, lots of folks wanted to do business in the GCC, but they really don't understand the culture, how business is done, what the region wants and needs. And so they end up showing up with whatever it is that they're working on and saying, are you interested? That's a waste of everybody's time. So I would just be really clear about what you want and align with people can help you go, can get those assets and solidify relationships. The advice I would give to those who are looking to do business in the GCC is, one, do some homework, right? Understand the culture, the history, how you do business there. Also, go with a clear value proposition, not only for yourself, but you understand what they want well enough that you can, sort of present yourself, in a great way. And often that means localization, so keep that in mind. And lastly, make the commitment to be visible. You need to go to the region. You need to spend a lot of time. It takes time to build the relationships, but the experience that I had doing business in the region was transformative. And, I highly recommend that anyone who wants to sort of, make some contacts and, see if there are opportunities for you, that you do that.
Any other comments? And then we'll go on to one or two more rounds of questions.
Well, quickly, from cross-border partnerships, from the diagnostic perspective, I would say bringing at the point of designing the regulatory, from the regulatory perspective, designing in partnership a strategy that is compliant with the American policies in conjunction with the GCC policies. So when clinical, and the point that you're designing the protocols for clinical trials, you're bringing different demographics that right away you have the Middle East data, unpersonalized data, so more can be more accessible for all and for diagnostics and for therapeutics also, because diagnostics is therapeutic adjacent. We all these areas should be aligned together for the better outcomes for all.
Yeah, I agree. Our partnerships in the Middle East and in India and in Far East will have the benefit of new diagnostics next year. Whereas if they're investing in new drugs, it'll be 10 years before they have a new drug. They want those results now. So that's why we think cross-border partnerships are very beneficial. Yeah.
That's great. At Cure, we're always working with founders and startups, and they're looking for advice. whether it's in areas of investment, areas that are of high unmet need, how to work with investors, et cetera. So this question comes sort of in that vein. So once the check is written, let's say, for the founder, and they've raised capital, whether it's seed or Series A or whatever it is, right? How do you partner with the CEOs on strategy, on fundraising, business development, team building, et cetera? How do you go about doing that? Do you want to start, Kimberly?
How do we partner with them?
Yeah, how do you, once you've invested, how do you ensure that they're on the right track? How do you partner? How do you support them? Because it's not just about writing a check. It's going beyond that.
No, indeed. So I would say, so I'm a venture partner with a healthcare venture capital fund. I'm also chief business officer with 3 separate biotech companies, and I do exactly that. We work on strategy, business development, fundraising, and over the past couple of years, it has a lot been about AI sort of integration and enablement. We actually work really closely. I work really closely with our companies. The venture fund works really closely with our portfolio companies because we really are on the journey together, which brings up a good point, which is, if you're going to take on an investor as an entrepreneur, make sure that you work really well with those people because there are going to be a lot of bumps in the road. You're going to need ongoing support, particularly these days financially. Yeah, we do work closely together. It's important.
Not just a check, right?
I can clarify this also. So we view working with a company as like developing a product. So we will look at every pothole that could take the wheels off the cart before the company gets to an acquisition. There's about 30 of them. These are called risks or hazards. And we chart them out. And we systematically pave over those potholes so that there is virtually minimal chance that the company will fail before it's acquired. And as a venture capitalist, we have to have an acquisition or a public offering, otherwise we wouldn't invest. So we have to make sure they don't fail. But we do it systematically, like a project management effort, with an assigned person and milestones and deadlines. And that goes on all the way to exit. Right?
That's great. I just want to make sure that we have 3 minutes. If there's any burning questions from the audience that we would want to answer. Anybody? Yeah, over there. Yes. Go ahead. All right. Did you hear that? Go. What was your latest?
We do a lot of venture debt,
exciting
so a little bit of the other side of the coin.
And
so
why?
Maybe over to you, Kim.
No. Well, to be frank, we're primarily focused on biopharma. We haven't made a lot of new investments recently. We've been busy protecting our existing investments. And so, again, companies raising money need to see whether the investors that they're approaching are currently investing or not. So we see a lot of interesting opportunities, but we're focused on our own companies right now.
Anybody else?
Well, our 2 most exciting investments are right here in this room. So Heart.io can predict a heart attack 3 months in advance. That's breakthrough.
Beautiful.
And Amplified DX solves the problem of infectious disease, particularly in women's health, in on-premise detection and cure without leaving the office.
That's great.
Yep.
Okay. All right, one more question, because we have 1 minute, 37 seconds. So, yes.
Is there an interest in investing more on the actual care, like preventing disease, like what he's doing, but way ahead of that, like 20 years ahead of that? So I'm not looking for investment. I work in that space, and I always come across barriers from people saying, oh, we're focusing on the disease. I want to know what happens before you get to the point of
Yeah, how can we move from focusing on disease to focusing on health and prevention, and from sick care to well care or health care, actual health care? And I will ask, because we have 39 seconds left, we're going to have like very precise, fabulously snappy answers. Okay, there's a contest going on. Who can give the snappiest answer?
Super, I'll go first. So it's a great question, and we actually looked at this, Seema, as you may recall. We did a piece last year called Health 2035, which was all about, what does healthcare and healthcare delivery look like 10 years from now? How do you start doing more of what you just described? But generally speaking, I think it's always going to be an and, right? You want to be treating like the whole person, the whole self, but also kind of acknowledge the fact that you can't always stay ahead of the curve. So maybe that's my quick answer.
It's an and. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, we're focused on the disease. So your question's the right one, and just gets how fragmented we all are, but yeah, sorry.
Maybe AI will help us with predictive powers. Yes.
A recent study that came up 3 days ago from University of Florida in conjunction with the Hemato-Oncologist Department from University of Miami stated that AI is evidently changing our lives, but we're not ready yet for AI to do diagnostics. We need our physicians. AI is great for triage. AI is great for support. AI is great for follow-up. AI cannot diagnose. AI will be kind of the next step that I have in my development. Once my data is fully complying with gold standards, will be the add-on to get all the large amount of data to support the physician. AI cannot diagnose. That is, I don't know if that is very supportive, good or bad, but
No, but you have to,
I'm the science person. I just
you have
am
to
led
state,
by
you have
data.
to state your, what you see. Yes,
Seema,
Rob, last word for you.
If
Yeah.
there was a way to make money, frankly, for our limited partners
That's the key.
out of healthcare prevention, disease prevention, like there's a company this morning that has can find holes in the immunological structure of your body. There has to be science that we can make money off of, frankly. And it's a little sad because I do believe in prevention.
Yeah.
GLP-1s, that's really prevention.
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
Had we found a way to invest in that, that would have been very good.
Yeah.
But it's very, very tough for a venture capital fund to invest in prevention. Show me a way.
So that will be
Come
the
to my booth
subject
if you
of
got
a
a solution
future
to that
panel.
problem. What's that?
That will be the subject of a
Yeah.
future panel, but it's a point well taken because we have to have, investments. So thank you all very much. Catherine.
Thank you all. That
Kimberly,
was great.
Zulma, Rob.